All right, guys, we're going to talk about dividing polynomials today. So an expression of more than two algebraic terms, especially the sum or difference of a term, is considered a polynomial. So if you look at number 1, 6x to the fourth minus 15x cubed plus 3x squared is a polynomial. And then 3x squared is a monomial. It's one term. So the first example, we're simply going to divide very much like properties of exponents. So we're going to divide each term by the 3x squared. So 6x to the fourth, 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then properties of exponents, you subtract when you're dividing. So 4 minus 2 is x squared. Now we look at the middle term. The middle term is negative 15x cubed. We're going to divide that also by 3x squared. So negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. And then 3 minus 2, again we're subtracting exponents from top to bottom, is just 1. So x to the first power. And then the last term, 3x squared divided by 3x squared, anything divided by itself is 1. Make sure you put the 1 there. You need that as a placeholder. Otherwise, if you multiply the 3x squared times this expression, you would not get the original polynomial. And that is how you can check yourself. All right, number 2, 7ab divided by 21, a to the fifth, b third, is 21 divided by 7 is 3. And then 5 minus 1 is a to the fourth. If I can get my pen to write. And then b to the third minus b to the first is b squared. And then divide the middle term. Negative 14 divided by 7 is negative 2. Subtract 3 minus 1. Anytime there's not an exponent here, you assume it to be a 1, so that would be a squared. And then b squared minus 1 is b to the first. And then divide by the last term. 63 divided by 7 is 9. And then 2 minus 1 again is 1. And b minus b disappears. Those cancel out. All right, number 3. We are dividing by a binomial. W minus 5 is 2 terms. So now we're dividing by a binomial. So one way to do this is by factoring the top. If you can factor the top, we've already went through factoring. So you're going to factor. And w squared minus 7w plus 10 can be factored as w times w is w squared. And we need something that multiplies to give us 10. And adds to give us negative 7. So we need 2 negatives to give us negative 7. 2 negatives multiply to give you 10. All right, so if I factored the top, now I can reduce and divide this way. And you'll learn another way to divide shortly, but using what you already know how to do, which is factoring. All right, so this term takes a little bit more in the way of factoring. This is just set up a little differently. So you've got 4h squared minus 7h minus 2 divided by h minus 2. And again, we need to factor the numerator and see what happens there. So kind of a shortcut would be h minus 2 is probably one of the factors, not necessarily, but let's see if we can make this work very easily. So we've got h times 4h gives us 4h squared. And then what times negative 2 gives us 2? Excuse me. All right, now check this to make sure you factored it correctly. So 4h times h is 4h squared. 4h times negative 2 is negative h plus 1h is negative 7h. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. So that is factored correctly. These reduce. And that means when you divide, you get 4h plus 1. All right, what what if factoring is not possible? So we are going to do long division, just like long division in 4th grade. I'm sure all of you guys were excited about learning long division. Okay, so this is called polynomial long division, and it's going to work very much the same way. So x goes into x squared how many times? Basically, division is the opposite of multiplication, so we can say x times x equals x squared, or x divided into x squared is x. Okay? Now, once we get this term, we need to multiply back, and underneath, we're going to put what we get. So we're going to have x times x is x squared, and then I have to do x times 8, which is 8x. Now, just like long division in 4th grade, we're going to subtract all the way across. So we subtract here, and we have to subtract this as well. So this one's going to cancel. 3 plus negative 8 is negative 5x. And then just like long division in 4th grade, we have to bring down the next term. All right, now you're going to start over. So you're going to say x goes into negative 5x how many times? Or x times what gives me negative 5x? So negative 5 times x is negative 5x. And negative 5 times 8 is negative 40. Again, we're going to subtract this row. So I'm going to subtract, which means this turns into addition. And this will cancel, and this brings down negative 3. X does not go into negative 3, so that becomes our remainder. So our remainder is negative 3, and we write that over what we're dividing by, so x plus 8. So your answer here would be x minus 5, remainder negative 3. All right, now there's another way to do division. It's called synthetic division, and we're going to look at the exact same problem, but this time we're going to use a method called synthetic division. Okay, so basically that's going to be taking out the variables, and it kind of cleans it up a little bit. So you're going to take this and you're going to switch the sign on it. So this is positive 8, so I'm going to bring down a negative 8. Okay, and over here where we subtracted all of these, this is going to allow us to add instead of subtract. So it's kind of like we're looking at the 0 of the polynomial instead of the factor. All right, so now we're going to look at the coefficients. This has a coefficient of 1, 3, and negative 43. So we're going to bring down 1, 3, and negative 43. Now I'm going to put some numbers here, so I need to skip a space, and then I'm going to draw my line here. So the first one, this one always comes down. With synthetic division, bring down the first term. So that's a 1. And then we're going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply negative 8 times 1. So I'm going to multiply negative 8 times 1 and then put that here. And then again, I changed this sign, so now I'm adding my columns. So 3 plus negative 8 is negative 5. And then I'm going to multiply again, negative 8 times negative 5, and put that here. So that's going to be 40. Negative 43 plus 40 is negative 3. And you're going to see that we got the same thing. So when we divide, if we divide an x out of x squared, that means we always reduce this term by 1. So this starts with 1x minus 5, remainder negative 3. So it's negative 3 over our x plus 8. So you can see that we did get the same answer with long division and with synthetic division. Okay, so there will be some more videos on how to do both of these. All right, let's look at another example. So n minus 7 divided into the polynomial 2n squared minus 16n plus 19. So I'm going to take the first term, n, and divide it into 2n squared. N goes into 2n squared 2n times. 2n times n is 2n squared. And then I multiply 2n by the negative 7, which is negative 14n. I'm going to subtract all the way across. Change my color here, so subtract a negative makes that positive. And then this will cancel. Negative 16 plus 14 is negative 2n. Again, bring down my 19. That is a positive 19, so bring down the sign as well. All right, n goes into negative 2n, negative 2 times. Negative 2 times n is negative 2n. Negative 2 times negative 7 is plus 14. Again, I'm going to subtract all the way across. Subtract a negative makes that plus, and it makes that negative. Then I'm going to add down. After I do that, I'm going to have the first column will cancel, and then 19 minus 14 would be 5. N does not go into 5, so 5 is my remainder. Again, I'm going to put the remainder over this n minus 7. All right, if we want to check this using synthetic division, we're going to change the negative 7 to positive 7. And I'm going to bring down my coefficients to negative 16 and 19. Drop down. I'm going to bring the first one down, so bring down my 2. And then I have 7 times 2 is 14. Negative 16 plus 14 is negative 2. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. That gives me 5. Again, I factored out, or I divided out an n minus 7. So if I take an n away from n squared, it's always going to be 1 less. So this is going to be 2n minus 2, remainder 5. Again, the same answer that we got above. All right. All right, let's look at one more example. This time we're dividing a binomial by another polynomial of degree 3. You can see this one has a cube to begin with. All right, so we're going to say y divides into y cubed, y squared times, or y squared times y is y cubed. Y squared times negative 2 is negative 2y squared. And I'm going to subtract all the way across. So subtract here, subtract that becomes positive. This is going to cancel. 5y squared plus 2y squared is 7y squared. Then I'm going to bring this down. And I'm going to go ahead and bring down all of it. That way it's all right here together. All right, so now I start over. Y, come to my first term again. Y goes into 7y squared. 7y times. And then 7y times y is 7y squared. And 7y times negative 2 is negative 14y. All right. I'm going to subtract this row, which means subtract a negative. I'm going to add here. And then this one will cancel. Negative 7 plus 14 is positive 7. And then bring down my plus 2. All right, start over again. We're going to look and see how many times it goes into 7y. So y goes into 7y 7 times. Y times 7 is 7y. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. I'm going to subtract, which means the first one's going to cancel, and 2 plus 14 is 16. So my remainder is 16 over y minus 2. Right, I've written the answer down here in a box so that you can see what you get when you divide